Hello everyone, I'm Amy Robertson. I am so excited that you are joining me for my March Hare Quilt-Along. It's going to be an awesome adventure and I'm just so excited to see what you create. Before we move into the really good stuff, I just thought I'd introduce myself. I'm a mother of 4, and when my youngest started school full-time in first grade, I decided I wanted to find a job. I had learned quilting through a neighborhood quilting group that I'd participated in. I learned how to quilt by doing hand piecing and hand quilting. I found a job in Nettles in Layton near where I live. And I started in the summer of 2017, and by fall I already had decided that I wanted to get a long arm, and by the following spring I had begun my long arm quilting business, which I called Dappled Things Quilting, and there's a story behind the name, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Ask me if you're curious. That would have been 2018 that I started my business, so roughly 3 years ago. And since then, a lot has happened. I did change the name just a bit from Dappled Things Quilting to Dappled Things by Amy, because I realized that I was going to want to incorporate much more than only quilting. I've always just naturally taken to drawing and art, and so I decided I would probably want to venture into pattern design, maybe writing books, surface pattern design, and hand stitch. And this March Hare quilt was my first foray into quilt pattern design, but got tons of ideas of things cooking in my brain, and I can't wait to make them a reality and share them with you. One thing that I can tell you about is I have been co-writing a book with Dara Thomason. The title is Doodle School, and it is available for pre-order on Amazon. We're this close to releasing it. Both super excited. It's going to basically teach you how to become a better free motion quilter, whether you're using a long arm or domestic machine, by developing the habit and the practice of doodling. So watch for that, and if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be telling you more about it there. If you're not following me, please do. I'm at Dappled Things by Amy. If you need more information about my quilting services, I have a website that's also dappledthingsbyamy.com. So you can get in touch with me either of those ways. So that's me. And just to tell you a little bit more about my March Hare quilt, when I started to develop this pattern, I was recently coming from creating one of Laura Heine's collage quilts. It was her white buffalo quilt. So from doing that, I learned the techniques of raw edge collage, floral collage. And I also had recently participated in the Utah Quilt Guild's Quilt Festival and taken classes. I took a class in fabric inking from Laura Schwartz-Smith, and also a class from Gloria Loftman where we did a lot of fabric painting. And so when I started out making this quilt, I knew I wanted it to have floral collage and raw edge applique in it, and also fabric inking or painting. And I ended up doing the inking with the Tsukaneko inks because I just really enjoyed working with that medium. The product is super easy to use. Kind of the thought process that I had in mind as I was creating this, I wanted to do something that would include all those techniques in a small, doable quilt. Those of you who haven't had exposure to any of these things would be able to do kind of a smaller project that you could be introduced to them and get the project done fairly quickly, so that then you could see, if they were techniques that you would enjoy, and you'd have also just the satisfaction of finishing something more quickly. So I created the March Hare quilt to be, a smaller wall hanging, and the actual collage part of it is just the hare. So it's a very small collage actually. And I decided on a hare in the beginning because I just love hares. I've got a little bit of an obsession with certain animals, and hares are one of them. I feel like they've got a lot of character. So I put a hare in it and kind of designed a spring scene with tulips and pussy willows and mushrooms. And then I learned that that following fall, which was 2020, the Quilt Guild Quilt Festival theme was going to be Alice in Wonderland. And I thought, looking at my quilt, this could totally be the March Hare. So I I found a Alice in Wonderland quote that I really liked and put a few elements in there that were, Wonderland type elements, and it became the March Hare pattern. So that's how it came about. I wasn't setting out to make an Alice in Wonderland quilt, but I feel like it was faded and it worked out really well. So that's what it is. That's basically the story behind it. So now let's get into the materials and supplies that you will need to make the quilt top.